I'm Tony Preckwinkle. I'm chair of the Cook County Democratic Party, and this is our podcast, The 80, about our party, its candidates, and its leaders. We're beginning the podcast by interviewing our local Democratic Committee people to discuss their backgrounds and their thoughts about the history and future of our party. I'm excited to welcome today John Daley, who's chairman of the Finance Committee of the Cook County Board of Commissioners and is also the committee person for the 11th Ward in the city of Chicago. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Tony, and I'm glad to join you and to talk about what the Democratic Party has done in the past, where we are now, and going into the future. It's been an honor to be committeeman. I succeeded my brother Rich when he was elected state's attorney. We as Democrats could be very proud of the history of the Democratic Party. We have changed lives and continue to change lives, and must now do it with the current administrations. We've always protected the middle class, and we'll continue that. I'm proud that we've been presented, looking back, what Medicare was. What people said it was a form of socialized medicine. Now it's providing best quality of care for seniors. And civil rights legislation, Democratic Party has been there. We've been there. My dad helped work with a congressman who was reluctant on voting for it, and he called him and said, this is needed for our country. And that was under LBJ. But Tony, I'm ready to start, and whenever you are, and continue any discussion wherever you want to go on this.
All right. All right. You, Chairman, come from the most distinguished political family in our city and probably in our state.
Right.
You started out in politics as an elected official, although I'm sure, given your family, that you worked in campaigns before you were elected yourself. But you started.
I was. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was. And I started, needless to say, with my probably going to maybe when my dad was elected, but also, even though I know a lot has been talked about myself, Rich, Bill, and my brother Rich, but my sisters were also public school teachers. That to me is public service. So I want to thank them, thank the teachers in the city, throughout the country. Being a teacher, I taught for a short time in the public school as a substitute teacher. You really affect lives, and they continue to do it. I want to thank them. I started out very early. I need to say, I would assume, when my dad was a candidate in '55, when he ran for mayor. I attended probably a few rallies, but the first campaign probably was that I really, really recall being active was going to the LA for Kennedy's convention, as well as finally the inauguration.
It was 1960.
Yeah, 1960, 60. That was the convention I really remember in LA, and and I attended most of the conventions since then. And it was a great convention, and it was a floor fight. Adlai Stevenson from Illinois came onto the floor at the last minute, and then there was a whole convention went up for grabs. Adlai Stevenson, being from Illinois, came to the floor, and my dad said to him, Adlai, I had asked you, I made it before we committed to Kennedy, are you going to run? And he said, prior to that, he said no. And then, but the convention nominated Kennedy, and needless to say, history has written the rest in him.
Well, that's an amazing story. I think we forget the drama that conventions are sort of.
And that's what I think that is what is missing. That is what missing is that, and I think the delegates who went to the convention back then really were instrumental. Their vote meant something. Unfortunately, now by the time some of the primaries are over, the nominee is chosen already, and the conventions become more of a platform, which is a platform issue, which is, I think, also extremely, extremely important to say where we are as a party and what we mean.
Right. So, but the first convention you went to, and probably one of the most memorable, was the 1960 one.
60. I think I might have attended Adlai's in '56, maybe. I'm probably like 10 years old that I had to show up, but that was the one. Yes, our whole family did that. About 7 of us went to the convention, and it was needless to say, a great convention.
Yes. So tell us about your 7 years in the legislature.
So in the General Assembly, I was the state representative for my district, and then I went on to be the senator from the district. And I found the years in the General Assembly extremely basic knowledge, getting basic knowledge of government, It helped me to move from the General Assembly onto county government. In Springfield, you're one of 118 members in the House and one of 59 in the Senate. And you must work with people. When I was there, we got along. We fought tremendously on the floor on issues affecting the state of Illinois. But after this, you walked out, you were able to go out with people. Unfortunately, today, at the state and I think federal level, we have such a divide. And I think all we have to look at is January 6th to see the division in this country. A division, and I refer to that January 6th, not so much for party's sake. This was an attack on our democracy as a country. And I think we as Americans should never, never forget it. People say that law and order, they attacked men and women and the police force. And it was an attack on our government and our way of governing, to the individuals who serve in the Congress, their safety. But the men and women who serve us and were out there protecting it, that was a disgrace, and I think will be a day that Americans should never forget. And it's a sad day that people who are in the Congress voted their votes and did not want a commission to be appointed, because I think my fear is that it could happen very easily again, and no accountability whatsoever.
Right. I think you and I both know people who serve in Congress and have talked to them about January 6th. And it was a terrifying time for
Right.
them. And as you point out, law officers, Capitol Police officers, were attacked and injured by the insurrectionists. So this is a very, very troubling day in American history.
Right. And the fear is it could continue again. And then last year, the attack on the governor of Michigan, that
Right.
her life was threatened. And that was a serious threat to her.
Right. They had a plan to kidnap her and try her.
Correct.
Crazy.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
This is an extraordinary moment in American history.
Right.
But to come back to your own experience,
My experience, and I would try to relate it to the government, always the national level as well. In Springfield, you worked on issues with Democratic and Republican governors. But this is a trying time because when you look at Donald Trump and the division and hatred he brought to this country, and his followers continue that is the fear. When his first campaign, and campaigns we all know elections have consequences. When he made fun of a handicapped reporter and his supporters clapped at it and were agreeing on it, that is a disgrace. And that, I think, set the tone for his campaign. And that's why, as a Democrat committeeman, I urge individuals in my ward to get out, to support Democratic candidates, what these Democratic candidates mean to them as individuals, what it means to their future, what it means to their pension. We, under your leadership, Madam President, protected the pensioners of this county to where it's funded now almost 60% with a tax that was controversial, sales tax, but you dedicated it to certain amounts that a certain percent will be sent to pensioners. We must remind them of the working class men and women that the Republican Party, even in the Senate, that would let us declare bankruptcy. And they say it can't happen. Well, look at Detroit. Detroit declared bankruptcy. And for the pensioners who are saying it can't happen to us, yes, it can. But as a Democrat here, we as could be proud of what we've done. And as Chairman, Tony, working with you on making the process more open, having pre-slating, having the candidates come and appear before us on pre-slating, and asking them the tough and difficult questions. How they're going to serve, what they bring to the table, making a balanced ticket, your ticket, and you have great success. We've had tremendous success. I know there's been tremendous, and I talk about the state, there's been tremendous adjustment on judicial reform, criminal justice system. You led the way. I mean, I give credit to the people in the General Assembly, but when you came in 2010, you led the way on legislation, on a new state's attorney, and made the progress, and that, I think, led the way probably for hopefully that members in the General Assembly got your ideas and passed legislation. So in reference to what I wish the people would say, take this election serious. People say elections don't matter. Yes, you could look at in 2016, people who were upset supposedly the way that the Hillary Clinton the process, she won the nomination, and a number of Democrats walked away, and that's now today why we have 3 members on the Supreme Court.
Right.
They either stayed home or voted for the independent as a protest against Hillary, but they hurt the Democratic Party themselves and hurt the country in general. It will be interesting to see how these 3 new members vote. Many times they surprise the individual who appointed them, but it is concerning that they were able to. He was able to appoint 3 members.
Yes, it surely is.
Yes.
Now, you became chair of the Finance Committee of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, I believe, when John Stroger became president of the county board.
That was correct, yes.
So you've served for, what, 28 years now or something?
28, yes, 28 years. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. People said, why didn't you run for higher office? I enjoyed coming back to working back at the county, working with the administrations to help their process, their ideas and goals carry through. We have a tremendous board working with Democrats and Republicans, independents. Everyone on that board has a voice. They come to me and I will give them advice if they want it. And we at the county, I refer to county constantly. We have a great budget process. During this CARES Act funding, you made it sure, Madam President, that again, you weren't going to balance a budget on that. And we came out ahead. You reached out into the communities once the money came in, but our budget was in balance on that. And that's our credit and your finance team.
Well, thank you. I think it's important for our viewers and our listeners to understand that the federal money comes in, ends at a date certain. So it's not a continuous revenue stream. It's time limited. And if you balance your budget with those federal dollars, then when the federal dollars are gone, you have a huge hole.
You're a big problem.
Yeah,
you're a big problem.
Let's talk just a little bit about the Biden administration and what you hope to see from them. Clearly, you and your family have a long history of support for the Democratic Party and Democratic presidents of all stripes. What do you hope from the Biden-Harris administration?
I would hope he continues the promise. He's made a number of promises, and but that represents the Democratic Party. But when, unfortunately for him, like Barack Obama had, when you had the leader of the Senate right away saying to Barack Obama and now to Joe Biden, we will stop every piece of legislation. Our main goal is to stop every piece of legislation the Biden administration is going to offer. That's ridiculous. You have to be able to work with and it's coming from the Republicans. So I would hope that he continues the civil rights legislation. The idea that we cannot pass a civil rights protection voting rights legislation is ridiculous. Every individual, and making it harder on individuals to vote everywhere. I mean, if the election was so-called was challenged in the past election, then the Republican senators' elections should be challenged. Are they going to throw their election results out? No, absolutely not. So I would say on civil rights and immigration reform, we must pass immigration legislation. This country has always welcomed people into our country. Criminal justice reform, these are the key legislation, and we must address it because we've long waited that weren't able to pass it.
Well, I'm very grateful that you were willing to join us today for our podcast. Are there any additional words you'd like to leave us?
I would just say to everyone out there, take elections serious and talk. If you don't talk to, and again, I go back to the administration that the former president did not show up to show the continuity of government. Al Gore lost the election. Quite honestly, I mean, if he could move and lost it by supposedly 800 votes, I really believe he was elected president, but if he was able to say, hey, this country has to be united, I will attend the inauguration, will let my team work with it. Stop the division, stop the hatred, and become Americans and be proud of the Democratic Party. Get out, get involved in your community, and if you don't vote, don't complain.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.